Everyone. My name is Michael Millett, and my capstone is on Can a Running Shoe be designed to better alleviate biomechanical failures of the human body? I chose this topic because I've done track and cross country for 4 years now, and I've seen many people become injured because of the running shoes they have and just the equipment, I guess, that they're with. So I was really curious if I could attempt at better designing a shoe and developing a prototype. Shoe technology has had kind of a disregard for the health of the human body. They either focus on the extreme of efficiency, or they focus on being mainstream and easy for the consumer. So I was attempting at I did research on how to bridge the gap. The goal again was to see if I could make a prototype. So yeah. The problem and context. Running, the context starts at the base of running injuries. The big three are ankle, shin, and knee, which all stem from the foot. You have massive impacts when you land, and tendons kind of work their way up. 2012 study, Lopez and colleagues highlights that running puts a massive repetitive stress on the human body, which leads to overuse injuries. My prototype, I specifically was targeting shin splints and Achilles tendinopathy, which are the most common repetitive stress failures due to advanced running shoes. Originally, my research, Neg et al. Put forth this comfort filler idea in the early 2010s, which was the industry norm, where they stated if shoes feel comfortable, that they're going to be better for your feet. And based on further research and more modern research, the comfort filler was subjective and placebo. Ideally, a shoe feels good, of course, because that's what you want. But it also has to reduce total load on your legs before the brain is signaling discomfort. Super shoes were also a part of what changed this. These are the injuries. Super shoes are what changed this. In more modern shoes, you get all three of these very commonly. They're more rigid and firm, which is what's kind of causing each of these injuries. I hope to find the middle ground, which would be energy return and stability from impact. Beyond just the body's mechanics, the environment that you're running in plays a massive role in injury risk, as different forms of running kind of give way to new challenges and new surfaces. On the road and on the track, especially depending on the track and when it's been built, runners have very hard, unforgiving surfaces. They're delivering very constant, high repetitive shock waves up the tibia and into the knee. And in trail running, you have very inconsistent landings in soft muds and rocks and roots, etc. And you are very prone to rolling your ankle or hyperextending your knee. That's actually happened to me before. And then marathon distances and beyond, you're running 26 plus miles. That's very hard on the human body. So shoes that are efficient are definitely a must-have. That's why many of the modern running brands have very high stack heights, which is the foam they put at the base of the shoe, to allow for more absorption and allow for less chance of rolling ankles, less chance of, more so of shin injuries and stuff. The findings in more modern science, my research originally started with a lot of very good sources in the early 2010s, but research has changed a lot recently. Kim and colleagues proved that TARS, which is technically advanced running shoes, reduce impact on your ankle joint reactions by 1.84 times your body weight, which is an enormous reduction over a long-term run, especially thinking of marathons and ultramarathons. I also synthesized this with Madison et al., and it reflected that PEBA foams, which are just a type of foam, and carbon plates put together have very long-lasting effects even after muscular fatigue sets in. Injuries often happen near the end of runs, especially on longer runs where form is breaking down. So it's a must-have, since the large foam allows for better running economy, and which is the mechanical backup, and the carbon plate allows for more energy return and a little bit better form. And the other great thing about the higher stack height too is that your form, as seen here, and the carbon plate in tandem kind of shifts your natural landing point to be more at the midfoot instead of at the heel or very rarely at the forefoot, which decreases the load and kind of spreads it out across the whole body. Anyone who does know anything about carbon plates, though, is aware of the risk of injuries. A 2025 study by Guan and Song reflects that if a plate is too flat or stiff, it creates pressure points that might snap or severely injure your metatarsal bones. This was simulated by using a flat plate on the computer to reflect stress concentrations. I would also like to note that I tested a flat carbon plate, and a couple days later, I actually went to the hospital with a stress fracture from various things, but anecdotally, I do not trust flat carbon plates very much at this time. So I opted for in my shoe was a curved unidirectional carbon plate, which allows for better energy return, and it allows for, because it's woven in a certain way, it allows for more flex on either direction. To obtain a carbon plate without being a large factory or like a large company, I found a medically approved supplier that had a pre-cut aerospace graphite plate used by podiatrists, which works the same way biomechanically. I would rather buy a single pre-cut plate than have to do it myself and deal with the numerous safety risks that come with cutting carbon plate, especially knowing myself. This unidirectional carbon plate was, not this one specifically, but what I opted for in the end. Some other materials I used to build was barge cement. It's the gold standard for literally all custom shoe making, and I'm pretty sure it's used for a bunch of other things. It has this unique property where it allows for the flex, unlike a traditional glue. If you glue something and you bend a piece of paper that it's on, the glue is just going to, break apart. This allows for the squish of the foam, so that you can put a carbon plate in the middle and it will stay together. It's also effective in rain and other weather, which is obviously important if you are running. The upper was this fabric here from East Products. It was an engineered mesh, which is flexible and durable while also locking down the foot. And it is better than a knit fabric, which you'll find on traditional shoes or just your average shoe, because it's just a lot safer. You can slide left to right if you have knit, and that's obviously a recipe for disaster. Ideally you're using a heat-activated TPU film, which is not pictured on here, unfortunately, but it's what you would use to press the lace cage onto the mesh to avoid seams. I'm also things, so that's a bonus. And it reduces weight that would otherwise be taken up, increasing efficiency. And then the foam, again, is just the PEBA foam, which is made to the angle and height to match the research in what is optimal, glued with the carbon plate, so everything has that rocker shape at the top. This was my original prototype and vision that I made in March. I used AI generative image making, I think Gemini, to kind of put together my research, and this is kind of what I foresaw as a rough outline for how I would create the shoe. And I kind of kept this as a reflection of work in progress. And yeah, doesn't look exactly like that, but nonetheless, that was my vision. These are a few pictures that is the shoe that I made. And these are some pictures of when I was cutting the fabric. I forgot to take pictures of anything else because I was getting very frustrated at times. But these are some progress pictures. And I had the limitation of being a single individual. So when I originally came into the class, I had the naive thought, I guess, that I would be able to, create a running shoe. My research certainly pointed to that it would be good and efficient. me as an individual could not entirely create the image to life. I like made the shoe and it is fully functional. I actually wore it in chapel this morning. I wore it around. But yeah, I was very limited in being my own person and not having the knowledge, I guess, in the background. I also want to note, in an ideal world, I would use more environmentally conscious materials. I did some research that found that it was, I think, 19 kilograms, I'm not sure the exact measurement, of carbon footprint that I was adding to the world in creating this. So if this was done on a large scale, that is certainly a large drawback. As a company, it would be very inefficient environmentally, so that would be kind of a negative externality that you would see with a large-scale creation of this. I can send photos or if you have follow-ups. Thank you for coming. Are there any questions? Sources. In quantity, yes, but in terms of actual material, like the carbon plate, for example, is going to be curved and the foam is going to be curved no matter what, so it's just a matter of scaling it down, I guess. I'm a size 10.5, so that's the shoe size that I created it for. But if you were to make it for like an 8 or like a smaller size, you would just have to scale it down. Excuse me. Donley. I did probably a poor job explaining, but when I was talking about this, I opted for this pair of Nike shoes had a great traction that I kind of took the vision from. All shoe tractions, if you actually look at them, are pretty similar. They're just like, I don't know the exact material, but they're all just like a grippy, like rubbery almost, that are put onto the bottom. So you have that part here, which is obviously an exaggerated in size, but you have that, and then it attaches to the foam. So I do have that, but I didn't talk about it since I was more so focusing on the distinctions of my shoe comparatively to other shoes. Lyric. I struggled with I struggled with it all, honestly, at different times. It was, especially when gluing it, the frustration is that you have to wait for it all to cement, and being impatient as I am, a few times was too early to start working on the next part, and it would subsequently dilapidate in my hands. So I had to kind of work around that, but it took, I'm not sure how long it took. Yeah. I have the shoe with me. I want to show it, but I'm not happy with, Lyric actually has it out. You can just raise it up. That was my prototype vision, but, all right, we're good. That was my prototype vision, but in an ideal world, I would repeatedly practice, and then it would be like 5 or 6 iterations probably, because that was my first attempt. That specific shoe was my first attempt. So over the course of repeatedly making it, I would certainly learn how to be more efficient and better with my materials. Yes, Donley. Running in them, honestly. My goal was to actually do a run in them. That's been hindered, not possible. But I would test them by running at various speeds. I would kind of look at more in depth into the data of what I found for like efficiency in like savings in fatigue and I would just kind of use my own anecdotal data over the course of collecting it, long runs, tempo workouts, etc., to see if it is more efficient than other shoes. And I would kind of control, and then my shoe, and then a different carbon-plated shoe that would be top of the market. Yes. Yes and no. I kind of buy a lot of shoes. I have 50-something pairs of shoes, so my choice of buying shoes is definitely like not as strict because I like to test them. But there are certainly things about shoes that I would be more careful about if it was in my day or rotation for running. For example, the carbon plate being flat is a huge, huge risk that I have a few pairs of shoes where it's a flat carbon plate, and that's definitely unideal. And so in the future, I would certainly like make different consumer choices, but I would also speak to others that maybe it's not the best option for them, especially people on my track and cross country team. I've talked to a number of people over the years about shoe purchasing and stuff. So it's just better, more informed now, especially.